now have the third panel discussion for the day, and the discussion is on the subject exploring the future paradigm of learning in globally acclaimed schools. And our panelists are Dr. Seema Negi, Principal Sanjeevani World School, Mumbai. She's the moderator. Daniel Curry, Director and Principal, Vega Schools, Gurgaon. Mr. Harshit Bansal, Managing Director, Abhinav Public School, Delhi. Anita Sharma, Principal, CP Goenka International School, Borivali, Mumbai. And Ms. Deepika Walian, Associate Development Manager, International Baccalaureate Organization. I would invite all our speakers on the stage. Dr. Seema Negi is the moderator. I would request the moderator to either take the left seat corner or the right one. Anyone of your choice. Let me just introduce the panelists again. It's Dr. Seema Negi. She's the Principal, Sanjeevani World School, Mumbai, and she's the moderator. Daniel Curry, Director and Principal, Vega Schools, Gurgaon. Harshit Bansal, Managing Director, Abhinav Public School, Delhi. Anita Sharma, Principal, CP Goenka International School, Borivali, Mumbai. And Ms. Deepika Walian, Associate Development Manager, International Baccalaureate Organization. And the subject for this panel discussion is exploring the future paradigm of learning in globally acclaimed schools. Thank you, everyone, and over to you, Ms. Negi.
So thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. The topic, if you know, is very interesting because each one of us want our school to be globally acclaimed, right? And that is the reason that we travel far across and wide to get the best practices to our school. So when you have a panel who is going to talk about how to sustain and how to make your school globally acclaimed, I think all the ears should be here because we are preparing our children to become global citizens. We are giving them firm roots. At the same time, we are giving them mighty wings. So I have a very balanced panel, if you see. If since from the morning we have seen this is the most balanced one when it comes to gender equality, okay? So don't get me wrong there. So gender equality, we are very focused on that. So talking about globally acclaimed school, you know, each one of us want that our school to reach newer heights. We want to give the best to our children. And most of us, we have not wasted the pandemic. It said that do not waste a good crisis. So if pandemic was the crisis, all of us have sailed through it. And when we sailed through it, we ensured that our children are becoming global citizens and they are getting ready for the future which is uncertain. I think previous panelists also spoke about the uncertainty about the future. So we are preparing them for the jobs which are still not there. We really do not know how the future looks like. Though automation is going to wipe out many jobs, similarly, automation is going to provide them more skills. So how do we sustain? How do we maintain and how do we go ahead to ensure not just our school is globally acclaimed, but our students are getting ready, our teachers are getting ready, and we as school leaders are on the right path. So to start with, Mr. Daniel, I would like to start with you. We are talking about future of learning in globally acclaimed school. So what is your views and perspective about it? What is it looks like?
Yes, thank you. My name is Dan, and thank you for having me. I'm from Vegas School, and I come from an international school background and have been in a number of different schools. So, you know, for me, what we see, what the trends in these globally acclaimed schools, they have a few things in common. One of them is a focus on pedagogy. So rather than the various standards, which is the what, we all come from different whats, whether, you know, we're a CBSE school, IB, ICSE, American Common Core. All of these are the what of the content, but the globally recognized schools are known for their pedagogies, for their approaches, whether it's problem-based learning. We've heard of some other approaches. We're a problem-based learning school. So regardless of the what, the how has to have excellence. And we see the global schools, these schools have that. They have a handle on that. The other is that they are looking outward. And because we can leverage technology now like we've never been able to before, we can have an impact and a global connection. And just like this previous presentation showed us, we can see places, we can connect with people like never before. And so most of these globally renowned schools are connected and have an international reach. Now, one way you can have an international reach is to build more schools in your system. That's very expensive. Another way is to create alliances. So we're part of a Global Schools Alliance of international schools. That allows our students to interact with students of other schools, our teachers to travel to other schools around the world and learn their pedagogies and their approaches. So these global schools are very much outward looking and global, international, and focused on pedagogy. And I think that's really the trend that will continue. We see more connections between some of these schools and universities, or with some of these schools in other school systems. So where can we make partnerships? Where can we see that growth? Where can we reach out in our school to connect with other schools in other places to learn more and to benefit our students?
So thank you so much. Rightly said that these are more outward-looking school, because now we have seen that we have to move outwards from intrinsic journey. When the pandemic hit, everybody said, okay, it's time to look inward. Now it's time to look outward, and we have to see that entire world is ready to collaborate. Deepika, I would like to come to you now. Sir spoke about the global school and the hows and whys that we have to maintain. That means we need to focus on the best practices, because the entire world is watching us. We are globally acclaimed school, right?
Absolutely.
So what you would like to highlight when we speak about focusing on best practice? For you, what are those best practices?
I'll come to best practices a little later, but I agree with Daniel completely. Global school are focusing, whatever their standards are, whatever their boards are, they're focusing on pedagogy. And secondly, globally acclaimed school by definition actually means some sort of global alliance, and whether it is global alliance school that he has, whether it's IB, which I represent, so that you are joined with or you are accredited by a reputed, trusted organization. You're following their standards, so that basically makes your stakeholders, at least happy that okay, these are the standards. But coming to the practices, I would definitely come to it again after one more thing. While I have to discuss the future thing in the school that we all are here for. Whatever the practice is, we have to involve the children in designing the future. A very famous teacher said, even the early year students, they are part of the world. So when we say the future is uncertain, the future is murky, the future is blur, they're listening to it. And they're getting, so we must give them that agency to design the future for looking forward. So coming to the practices should involve them. It means two things. First of all, we don't know what the future would be. These young students have to design the future. As school and as teachers, the practices are learner-centered practice, student agency in the learning, and most important, teachers understanding that how learning happens. Because unless the teachers and educators won't understand at what age, how cognitively a child thinks, what is the mental, what is the right word? Neural plasticity? Neural plasticity is, then how would we design anything for them? Other thing is, of course, which I massively advocate, is seamless extracurricular and curricular activities. The seamlessness should be there. It can't be standalone activities. List is pretty long, but I would end my part right now here is let all combine together on these platforms again and bring the voice of our students of the school, how they wish to design their future, because they are the architects.
So thank you, Deepika. To the voice, I'll add that we need to give voice and choice both to our children. So when we give voice and choice, teacher's role is to have accountability, because there needs to be someone who is accountable for that. And rightly said, the kind of agencies which makes us a globally acclaimed school, that's very important that people should know about it. Sometimes the entire concept of globally acclaimed school is not understood well when it comes to the larger audience. So coming to you, Mr. Harshit, everything has two sides, right? Every coin has two sides. So what are the advantages and disadvantages that you can see as per your expertise?
Good afternoon. First of all, a big shout out to Mr. Ravi Gupta and the team of Elets Technomedia to have us educators again back on the same platform to discuss our pain points. Coming back to your question, ma'am, the advantages and disadvantages of having a global outlook in any of these schools, we need to understand what a global school mindset is. Yeah, what globalization is. A global citizenship only revolves around three fundamental points: social, economic, political. If we are able to give child all these three education around all these three pillars at a global level, he will be considered a global citizen. Rather than thinking about the problems that are persistent in his own state, city, or country, to think them on a global level makes him a global citizen. Talking about the advantages, these schools have to imbibe to the children a broader horizon of understanding what these issues are, what these difficulties are, and giving them a better edge of resources in comprehending those issues. Because we always try to find the solution to a problem. But what we forget is, before finding the solution, we need to identify the problem first. We need to let it soak in that what the problem is and who is it impacting the most, where it is impacting the most, and then only we'll be able to find a viable solution to it. So the student needs to dive into that problem, and then only he'll be able to give that solution as a global citizen on a global level. Now, to discuss the disadvantages of such a school, there are not quite many, but which these are very fundamental. To reach out to the masses, it becomes a difficulty for a global vision school, because to implement those resources, that ideology, that technology, you need to have a broader spectrum of fees, by which you cannot reach to the masses. Secondly, sometimes it happens that when a parent is ready to send the child to become a global citizen, sometimes it happens that he loses the faith in the school at a middle level or after the starting of the level. So when that happens, the parent pulls the child from that institution or tries to pull that out, and that gap occurs. So at that point of time, the base of the child is created at a global level, and then the parent wants him to go to a domestic level or a country level. So that shift becomes a problem for the school from where he is leaving and from where he'll be entering into. So I think none of the disadvantages we can talk about while we are making a child a global citizen.
I think that was very well put up, because, we always say children are the future of nation and we have to make them global citizen. But sometime down the line, we forget that their voice and choice, as Deepika said, matters a lot. We take decisions for our children, not knowing that they are that generation who have their own individuality. So coming to you, Anita, we have spoken about students. We want our students to be like a part of globally acclaimed school, because they are going to go to that world where there are no boundaries. I think by now Daniel, Harshit and Deepika have presented a canvas which is blank, and it is given to all the children and they can paint their own masterpiece. But coming to you, the one who is helping them paint these masterpieces, they are teachers. So what is the role of a principal or a leader to ensure that the team is ready to back these children who are going to be a global citizen in the kind of school which has very, very global outlook, okay? In spite of wherever you are, whichever part of the country you are, there are certain disadvantages, as Harshit rightly said. Sometimes it becomes difficult to make parents understand the mindset. Sometimes it might be to deal with finances. But when a school has taken that journey, how to train our teachers for that?
Good afternoon to all present here. Good afternoon to all your panelists, and a very thoughtful question, Seema. While it comes to, we have been talking about globally acclaimed schools, and when we say globally acclaimed schools, children have gotten exposure on a platform through internet wherein they can really connect themselves to globe with irrespective to teachers' intervention. And thankfully, what I have seen of lately is that our teachers have also started connecting themselves globally through a variety of networking opportunities that they get. One of the classic example for us to be at Elets here is also, again, we are trying to network and we are trying to connect ourselves. As a principal, I believe for all of us, it becomes extremely vital to ensure that every kind of opportunity that we can provision for our teachers to upgrade their skills, their knowledge with the help of the technology to ensure that anything and everything pertaining to the content that they learn, the children learn in the class, is not one way. It's a collaborative effort. So if I have to make my children sit at one place and tell them that, look, we are globally acclaimed and we are going to get associated, they would probably not be in a position to align their thoughts to us. And thus the teachers have to be sensitized towards this aspect, that how would you ensure that there is a collaboration, there is a collaborative effort from the children. The teacher becomes a part of the children in their learning process. And she does not only give information, but she collects information, which is extremely vital in the class of learning, where children also reinforce confidence. At present, the kind of generation that we are looking into, thankfully the teachers are also from this generation, where they have chosen their profession as teachers, and I'm very sure that they are learning out of it. They are ensuring that they can connect to the children. So as a principal, while we recruit our staff in teaching, one thing that we need to really ensure is that we sensitize the belongingness in the teachers. The school belongs to you, these children belong to you. They are going to remember you for long. So the kind of knowledge that you are giving should not be bookish. Once we have instilled this sense of responsibility and belongingness in teachers, along with the trust at both the ends. You trust the school that yes, whatever we are doing, whatever kind of upgradation we are expecting in teachers, the kind of sessions or workshops that we are conducting with the teachers is purely because the generation calls for it. And it is not to enforce or impose any kind of pressure on you of changing yourself, but the change is the only constant that you have, and thus it's important for you to align with the vision of the school. Only then you can see a kind of a change into the system of education, and you will see children passing out with great colors. Otherwise, to instill out of force is not an option, that I believe. And while we have these workshops also that we hold for teachers, it is very important for us to identify what is the need to ensure that globally we do keep ourselves connected and we do ensure that there is an upgradation which has an output which is very productive. So that's what I feel as principals, our responsibility lies into.
So thank you, Anita. You have widely covered many topics like we need to understand the generation who is learning in a class. Because generational disparity is very interesting to learn. When you know which generation you are teaching, I think then only you can impart the kind of knowledge that you are looking for. We need to make our teachers ready for this kind of world, because gone are the days when we used to say teachers are the sage of the stage. I think whosoever is on the other side of the table, whether a child or a teacher, they are the one who are your teacher for that moment. So learning landscape have changed. We have gone from, say, disaster-driven digitalization to teacher and technology together, and I think there is no looking back. Whether it is new normal or it is new normal 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, we don't know how it will evolve, but I think there is no looking back. So when we are talking about no looking back, Mr. Daniel, I would like to come to you. So some practices, if you can share with us, because there is no looking back, we have to look forward only. So how do we prepare our children in the class so that they are ready for employability? You know, usually we give the society a child who is ready after school, who can go to college or follow any professional course. But isn't it the responsibility of the school to give to society a child or a product who is employability ready? How do we do that?
Yes, thank you. It is very important that as schools adjust to prepare students for the future, we need to be looking at our best guess as to what the future looks like. And a lot of the panelists today have talked about 21st century skills and what does that mean? Well, if we look in most corporations now, we can see evidence of what we're talking about. So we see teamwork, people working in teams, collaborating together, applying their knowledge to new and different situations to solve a problem. And they have to understand lots of different components to solve the problem. So what schools should be doing is creating that same environment in their schools for students, for learners of all ages, to be presented with challenges, to apply what they've learned, and to solve problems collaboratively. And just like riding a bike, it just takes practice. So we want our youngest learners to grow up in a system where it's not about memorizing lists of things or regurgitating things in a particular written way. It's about application of knowledge. So we provide education, interdisciplinary. I think that's important too, because in the future, in a corporate world, in life, we don't just do a math problem. This is math and science and social issues all wrapped up together in looking for solutions. So the way we structure it is provide a problem-based learning environment where they have the opportunity to sit around a real-world issue and appropriate for their level, kindergarten on up, appropriate to their level, apply what they've learned to solve a problem, and then through that the learning comes because they realize, okay, if the problem that we're addressing is air quality, now when the time is right, they're going to have to learn more about social studies and find out what are the root causes. They're going to learn about science and particulate matter. They're going to learn about math and how to graph and chart things. So in that interdisciplinary approach, the intent here is to solve a problem. So if they're doing this all through their school years, they're going to graduate, they're going to enter the world, the workforce, with the skills to adapt, to apply what they've learned, to solve problems, to work collaboratively, and that's because they've been doing that all through their school years.
Beautifully said, because most of the corporate, they have workshop for their, I think, newly recruits joinees, like collaboration, teamwork, creative thinking, which definitely starts from early years. If we give this kind of simulation right from school, I think we are making our children employability ready. Now, Sir beautifully said about amalgamating the subjects together, transdisciplinary and interdisciplinary learning. See, there are two parts of it. One is curriculum, and I don't know how many of us we discuss about hidden curriculum. So what is happening when children are collaborating together? Their leadership skill, their creative thinking skill, their collaborative skills are getting developed. That is something which we are not seeing from our visible eyes, but these are important skills, and that is the hidden curriculum that I think most of the school follows. Altogether a different topic. We'll come to that some other time. Coming to you, Deepika, since we are talking about changing learning landscapes, and we know that each one of us, each one of you sitting here, we are heavily surrounded by technology, okay? And technology is now available at our palm top, whatever we want to do, wherever we want to go sitting here. Bezad rightly said, I mean, from Antarctica, he can show us whatever he wants to show. He can take us to Finland. So, I mean, the responsibility lies a lot on the school to prepare children for this kind of future. So how do you think the schools who are globally acclaimed, they have those kind of accreditation, how do they embrace technology? Definitely technology is not taking away teachers' role, it is enabling them, but how do we prepare for that mindset?
Absolutely. First of all, I love the word hidden curriculum. I've read it in books many times, and you've really explained it very well. You know, the what is being seen in the curriculum and what is hidden. The hidden curriculum is the culture of the school, the things that we provide. And secondly, I also would come to technology, but I wish from this forum that we're 2 decades into the 21st century, and for the future, we hope we must have delivered. I hope in this decade we deliver these or develop these 21st centuries to the kids so that they are not discussing it in the next decade, really. They should have those skills already in their hand and, you know, thinking about the half of the 21st century skills maybe later that. Coming to technologies, obviously, I mean, imagine nobody knew the time before pandemic, and, you know, my interaction with teachers earlier before pandemic is like, keep technology away from from us, you know, oh my word, technology, why are you asking of integration of technology? But how quickly we adapted. Nobody, you know, that is adaptability. So the globally acclaimed schools are very adaptable. They're adaptable to the needs. And in general, institutions, schools have always performed well in reacting to what is needed, rather than planning for the future. That's policy and that's something else. But in general, schools have been very responsive in doing what is required. I am saying in the future, the learning definitely will be it will be learning driven technology and not technology driven learning at all. Our students are going to refuse it unless with the technology we are able to achieve what we want in our kids, the skills that we wish in them, the academic attainment and progress that we want in them. That technology is useless. Or, you know, it is helping them to collaborate, etc., etc. But anyways, any kind of technology is good, as then it should be driven by students, at how alternatively they are using. So technology has huge future. Everything's going to change, I believe, in world as more and more, you know, in our forum we have today also a presentation of learning management system, yesterday as well. And I was thinking that maybe a time would come the teacher would only be responsible for developing the core values, the skills, and developing them into better humans, than focusing on academic outcomes and attainments. Because student can, through a gamified version, can themselves just learn what they wish to, and the whole learning management platform will be designed in a way that, you know, it will automatically just provide them what they wish to. So, so answering your question, technology is the future. It will be learning-driven technology, but still, globally acclaimed school will, how they would react. They would then continue to develop the skills, the qualities, the attributes, those things which are making them better human, because those are equally rather more important. I mean, I have only realized it you know, in the second part of my career of teaching. Earlier, I was also like, you know, you should learn this, that's it. But increasingly, as I'm understanding education, I don't need anything logged or anything in my life now, which I learned in grade 9 and 10. But I am using the skills that I have developed in my school, the collaboration, the communication, being a better person, balanced time management of all. And these skills develop in a culture. They can't just give the, hey, this is time management, develop it. This is a neural process that takes time, and school from KG to grade 12, they must, in their lessons, when they're planning, they must inbuild these activities which are helping them develop the skill. I will add one more thing. Last year, I observed a lesson of a kindergarten as well as grade 12. It was so similar in terms of planning. Both had peer-to-peer learning. Both had hook to start. Both had collaborative tasks. In small, in this, both had adult-focused activities, both had independent work, and both had plenary. So I think the pattern is same, whichever grade we
The
are.
base is definitely same in how you are filling things. That is what matters. So your filling matters a lot, and your feeling also matters a lot. And we do understand we are the panel just before lunch, so don't worry, we will take care of time also, because that's also important. Now, very rightly said, you know, it's not about technology, it's about the person who is handling the technology. So the men or women behind the machine is very important. So ensure that your children are the creators of technology, not just mere consumers. Because the day you are only making consumers, or you are letting your children become the slaves of technology, then you are not letting them master the technology or tame technology. And this is what is needed, is we need to tame technology. So coming to you, Harshit, we started with that it's a very balanced panel, and maintaining balance is not easy, you know, that's very difficult. And when we speak about equality, we speak about equity, we speak about inclusivity, because that is what future looks like, and NEP also speaks about that. So how do we sync everything with the global scenario and global change, and ensure that the balance is maintained?
Inclusivity, equity, and equality. All three are very sensitive issues to balance out in a school classroom. It is a very thin line for a teacher between imbibing and implementing inclusivity and being partial to the other children. So the facilitator in the classroom needs to play the most vital role in maintaining this kind of balance. We have a lot talked about collaboration, and the collaboration that needs to happen at the groundest level to achieve equity, equality, and inclusivity is between the teachers of the school. First of all, they need to have that sense of leadership in the classroom that yes, this is my classroom. All these kids are my kids. It just doesn't need to happen that an average child is given a lesser kind of attention, lesser span of attention, and the one who's doing well is given more according to that. So the teacher needs to realize that, and to collaborate between the teachers, we need to work around three things. The first is the creativity, the second is the critical thinking aspect of it, and third is the communication. Creatively, you need to design your lesson plannings, school infrastructure also, so that all these three things can be implemented. Communication, why is important? So that one teacher, if is understanding any particular thing about a child, she needs to transfer that back while going into the staff room to the other teachers of the same grade or the same class. So that between the teachers also it is understood what kind of child, what kind of classrooms require, what kind of inputs to be presented in the lesson planning. So this is the kind of communication I think is required to implement the three things. The third thing is the critical thinking. Again, talking about the sense of leadership that the teacher needs to take in the classroom. Ki, haan, this is my classroom. Until and unless the teacher is not feeling that, is not taking the ownership of that class, I am sorry, but will not be able to do anything via any workshops or trainings or anything. It just needs to come from within the heart of the teacher. And this paradigm that exists that the mindset flows from tier 1 school to tier 2 school, then tier 2 to tier 3 schools due to lack of resources and to accomplish the parent mindset. So all the tier 1 schools that consider themselves as tier 1 schools need to do this immediately so that the mindset follows, goes to tier 2 cities and then goes to tier 3 cities and schools. So that inclusivity, equity and equality can be implemented at a larger level to reach the masses, and we can, certainly give the profit to the child in terms of education.
Definitely, the maximum benefit will reach to the child. And when we say child, it is students across. It is not just my school or your school. All the schools, all the students. And, when pandemic hit us, I think none of the teachers ever thought of not going ahead with the changes. Everybody adapted to that. And whether it was 2-tier school or 3-tier school or a metropolitan school, I think we all collaborated because the only mission was no child should be left behind. We have seen digital divide. We have seen everything. But this collaboration, and Harshit, if every school will take the onus, if we can have public-private partnership, some kind of module where a school who has better resources can handhold a school which does not have the resources, I think at the end of the day, we are looking for the larger benefit of students' community. So coming to you, Anita, for a school to reach at the top, to become a school who is technically very advanced, who has all the resources, who is always ready for the future, it's easy to reach at the top still, but to sustain that position and to ensure that you are giving back to society also and you are preparing your children for this uncertain future. So do you think that is possible with the paradigm shift that we have seen? And if that is possible, what is the major role of globally acclaimed school, who many schools look up to? Because these schools might become the role model for other schools later.
I believe, Seema, share is the only one aspect. So while we do a lot of things for our teachers to upgrade their ability and ensure that we have sustained our existence within the school system and we remain acclaimed all the while, I think as one of our panelists has spoken about the tiers to go, so there should be a kind of exchange programs within teachers of the schools which are not very much put up into the setup which could lead to the generation that we are doing, or probably which is globally, confident enough of taking it up. Probably that kind of a hand-holding is also what I believe. Reaching the top, somewhere I believe, is not easy. With the kind of competition that you have, whether you like it or you don't like it, you are a part of it. One aspect. Second, ensuring when you see this kind of an aspect coming up from the system, I believe we, instead of getting into the competition, we should always believe about what is best required for my school, what is best required for my children, what is the ability of my management to ensure that the finances or the investments are being taken care so that I can remain globally acclaimed. And maybe with the kind of a provision of a 3-year plan or a 5-year plan, which will ensure that you have come up to that stage. And thereafter, to maintain sustainability would not be a challenge. The reason is that in that journey of your growth, you have already ensured that your staff, your school, lives up to the parameter that is expected to ensure that the sustainability is lived longer. Also to ensure that when we say that, you know, what is the constant, life has always changed. It has always been uncertain. If we all have to see 3 years back, what have we been doing and what are we doing today? You know, there's such a vast difference. So somehow, life is ever changing. There are uncertainties, and I so very much agree to what Deepika just mentioned, that if I have to sustain myself, technology is going to change day after day. Competition is going to change and set another level for you to reach. So what will help us is the kind of human that I am and what I am going to ensure that my children and my staff is going to be. Only the quality in a human being is something which will ensure, if I have to reinforce confidence, if I have to reinforce team building ability, if I have to reinforce collaborative learning, creative thinking, critical thinking, problem solvers of my school, be it children, be it staff. Sustainability is not going to be a challenge ever in life, no matter what it changes. Also to add on, I am from the generation where we had chalk and board to talk. Today, since we are into the field of education, we realize so much of change has already taken place. So when we talk about sustainability, I go back to my school, and if I have to see that there are installation of surfboards and the same teachers those who are of age 50, 55, and they are really doing a good job into the field of education, I feel that sustainability is still there.
So Anita,
That's all. Thank you.
Yes, so the best part is when you are talking about, or when we are talking about being on top, what is needed is you need to analyze what is that pinnacle for you. Now that pinnacle should not be based on what other schools are doing. The pinnacle should be based on what you can do, what best you can do for your children. Then sustainability definitely will not be an issue. Now, since we have remaining 4 minutes and we are coming to a very, very quick round, you just have to give one golden nugget to the audience so that they can go with that. Okay, only one golden nugget, you just have 30 seconds, and we start from Deepika. Yes, so we are saving time.
Best leadership.
Best leadership,
Like
wonderful.
I have here, and same mindset. So one golden nugget is strong, transformative. Let me make this word a bit longer. Reflective, transformative, collaborative leadership.
Okay. Rest which are left, please go to Google and find out 21st century leadership. Everything will be there. Yes, Harshit.
See, the golden nugget for me is to finding teachers that take that sense of ownership and can impart the same into the students they have in the classroom.
Wonderful.
Finding those teachers is my golden nugget.
Finding those teachers is difficult task, very difficult task, no doubt. Yes, sir.
And once you have these teachers, it's important if they're going to be teaching collaboration that they themselves must be collaborating. There has to be regular scheduled time where they collaborate together to deliver, to plan their lessons, and to provide an enriching experience for the kids. So if your teachers aren't collaborating, they're not going to be able to help our learners learn how to collaborate well.
So starting from leadership, coming to looking for the right resource, and then the resource needs to collaborate. Yes, Anita.
I believe align and handhold. Align to the students, to the staff, to the parents, all the while, and handhold everybody of them to ensure that wherever you are visioning yourself to reach, they are all there with you.
So all the stakeholders are important when we talk about making children future ready, when we talk about sustainability, and when we talk about globally acclaimed school. Last but not the least, we have discussed about 4 C's, creativity, critical thinking, everything. Adding new flavor to all the 4 C's, what is important is care. We need to care for each other, whether for each other as an educationist or to handhold to our children, care for our planet, care for everything around. We need to connect, and that is why we are here, right? We'll be connecting during lunchtime also. So connection is very important. In the terms of business, your network is equivalent to your net worth. So please connect. I have marketed everyone, all at tech company. It is very important to be a part of the community. You know, we are from the same tribe. But saying that, we also need to be a part of the professional community so that we know what is to be brought back to our school. Last but not the least, which I find is very important, is culture. We need to know where we come from. If we do not know where we come from, we will never know where we have to go. So please give a lot of importance to your culture and take your children where the entire sky is the infinite opportunity for them, and then I think we'll be able to maintain what globally acclaimed schools need to maintain. So thank you so much. With 1 minute, 49 seconds left, I think we have done a good job.
I'd like to add
Yes, please.
Just 30 seconds of
Yes.
it. While we are resonating the strings of global citizenship and globalship, I'd like to say that I am a firm believer that in the 19th century, it was being led by the Britishers. When the 20th century arrived, the Americans took over. Now it's time for the Indians to take over the 21st century. Thank you.
Wonderful. Yes. So
I think we can have a round of applause on that line, that Indians should actually take over. So let us just remind the world that we Indians are very good with a round of applause as well. A huge round of applause here.
There's lunch after this, right? So we can utilize our energy now. We can have a bigger round of applause for the wonderful panelists. And
Exactly. And a big one for Dr. Seema Negi as
Thank
well,
you
who's
so
been
much.
a wonderful moderator here.
so they deserve a good lunch after this because they have applauded for us.
Yes, in fact. And in fact, I would like to invite Dr. Ravi Gupta, CEO and editor, Elets Technomedia, and Mr. Bejaz Shroff, HOD Experiential Learning from Quest Plus on the stage to present a token of gratitude to all our speakers. I would announce the name of our panelists now. Dr. Seema Negi, Principal, Sanjeevani World School, Mumbai. She was the moderator. Mr. Daniel Curry, Director and Principal, Vega Schools, Gurgaon. Mr. Harshit Bansal, Managing Director, Abhinav Public School, Delhi. Ms. Anita Sharma, Principal, CP Goenka International School, Borivali, Mumbai. And Ms. Deepika Walian, Associate Development Manager, International Baccalaureate Organization. So can I have a token for Dr. Seema Negi, please? Thank you so much, ma'am, for your wonderful moderation. A token for Mr. Daniel Curry, Director and Principal, Vega Schools, Gurgaon. A token for Mr. Harshit Bansal, Managing Director, Abhinav Public School, Delhi. One for Ms. Deepika Walian, Associate Development Manager, International Baccalaureate Organization. And I would request all our panelists to come together for a group photograph. Yeah. Okay, yeah. One for Ms. Anita Sharma, Principal, CP Goenka International School, Borivali, Mumbai. Yeah, a group photograph, please. Thank you so much, everyone. We also have a video bite column here. So I would request my colleague to, in fact, accompany the speakers there.